Hi, welcome to Anne's Space. Thanks for joining me. In this video, I go off to Pearl Harbour, exploring their memorial and also some of the museums. After that, back into town and I walk along some more of the beautiful beaches. I also stop in at Chinatown, see some interesting food but don't taste it. Then up to a memorial with the best views ever. Aloha from Waikiki. This morning I'm off to the Arizona Memorial, commonly known to Australians as Pearl Harbour. It's going to be another interesting day.
Wave of the Japanese attack headed south. 50 minutes later, the second wave. 167 more planes jumped skyward into the morning light. The attack force was on the brink of achieving the improbable, surprise. The idea came from Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto. War between Japan and the United States seemed inevitable. But Japan had little chance of winning unless the U.S. fleet in Hawaii could be destroyed. For a year, Yamamoto and his staff worked on a secret plan: knock out the fleet, cripple American air power, conquer the Southwest Pacific. For nearly a half hour, the skies over Oahu were empty. Was it over? Not yet. Just before 9 o'clock, the second wave of Japanese planes filled the air. But again, the fighters and bombers raked airfields and air stations. Bombs exploded on the ships at Pearl Harbour.
The boat borders out to the memorial for the Arizona. This is the ship that was sunk by the Japanese, one of the many, but there was many naval men who could not escape from the ship and are entombed beneath where I stand. We actually got moved off the memorial quicker. There was some sort of situation, so I guess we'll never find out what it was. So I'm going to take the shuttle out to the museum and a few other things. So this is complimentary. So although this ship was actually bombed in the Japanese invasion, they rebuilt it as they did many of the other ships. I think there was only 2 or 3 that they couldn't rebuild. So wow, that's pretty impressive. So I've never been on a ship this size, but I will be in a few days when I start my cruise. Somewhat different though. Really interesting to see this statue here. It's the same as I saw in San Diego when I was there. So I'm actually not going to go into the aviation museum. It's another thing that costs. I think I've got a good coverage from where I've been so far, but I'll have a wander around outside. This tower here, before the war, was just the water tower, and then they converted it to an observation tower. Fairly interesting. not really, because these aircraft have all been lovingly restored by some very passionate personnel. I love the name on this one. This is still a functioning air base where I am now, and when I was going to where the ship was, we went past a lot of the houses, really nice houses, really well kept, and yeah, they obviously look after their stuff here. So it does definitely seem like a graveyard here inside the hangar. These are all B-17s, one of Boeing's planes. Yeah, they were known as the Flying Fortress because they were so strong. They were really hard to get out of the sky. And of course, the army vehicles. When I was in Vietnam with my daughter, we actually went for a ride to, I don't know, up in the paddy field somewhere near Sapa, in an old army vehicle. Such a lot of fun. It was so muddy though, never forget it. And of course, they wouldn't call this one a ute, but that's what I'd call it. This area by the Hilton and north of where I've been staying is quite different. It's just big resorts, very flat sand, and it doesn't seem to have the interest so much. Yeah, I'm glad I am where I am. It's a bit of a defence force day to day. I've come to check out the Army Museum. It's right on the beach, so it's an interesting place to have a museum for a start. So this museum is situated in Fort de Russie Park, which is lovely parkland right on the beach. So there's a little bit about it here, but I won't bother videoing much on this museum. I think a museum's a museum. It's obviously an army museum, so you can get the general gist. Something that is interesting is this building is actually a battery. It was a line of defence. There was 2 batteries here. I thought that was very interesting that it's actually sculpted. So just come out of the Army Museum, and not only was it a museum for the Pearl Harbour bombing, but also had a bit of information about the Vietnam War. And then upstairs there's a whole area about the Army Corps, strongly involved as they are in the rest of the United States. They get involved in, land preservation. They maintain all the canals that I walked along yesterday, and he was telling me where this building was actually swamp. They bought it off a Chinese farmer and drained it all. So they're very involved. He was also telling me, I was asking him about the breakwater that's out by where I went for a swim, and how that sort of stops the waves coming in and washing out like we get on our east coast. So yeah, really interesting, and definitely worth a stop at the Army Museum. I reckon you could play this with a rebounder. It's like an interesting game. They haven't got any flow going though, that's a shame. Maybe they're just learning. There we go. This is Saturday night, Waikiki. just a bit further north than Waikiki. I might seem very calm, but just had the biggest scare. Couldn't find my phone. Long story short, someone picked it up and gave it to someone else who they thought it belonged to someone in their room. So 5 minutes of panic, all over it now, got my phone back. Lesson learned, don't put your phone down, Anne. So I'm on my way to Chinatown. There is lots of street people living here. This is a good example of how they travel. Just going for a wander around today, and these are old mission houses. And all these have been restored. They are beautiful old buildings. This is the eternal flame for the victims of 9/11. This is Kamehameha, and he was responsible for joining all the different islands together as a united group. So very important gentleman of the history of Hawaii. So this was Ione Palace. I'm not sure why it's closed, but the statue that I just took a photo of is also the only statue. This here is the State Library. It's closed today, but it's another place that the street people tend to hang out. So I just recorded the music there of this cathedral. It's lovely to come in on Sunday, except I can't take photos. I'm continuing my Sunday morning walk. I've walked from Ala Moana and I'm looked at all the old buildings, and now I'm in Fort Street Mall. This is where I was the other day when I got my seniors bus pass. I wish I could capture the smell here. It's just divine and so reminds me of China. You just, yeah, it's very reminiscing, I guess you'd say. Very interesting. Have no idea the methodology, but they are passionate, and there's only one lady. So I'm not sure if this is a daily occurrence, but certainly depicts Chinatown to me. So this bus ride's a bit different. This is the first time
time I've been on a bus that's not a bendy bus. On my way up to the Pacific Cemetery, met a group of students who are also going. They're from North Carolina, so it's a fun road. It reminds me a bit of the scenic drive north of Sydney and in Auckland. So it's quite windy here, and there's also a guy with a leaf blower, so hopefully this comes out. So from the entrance to the National Memorial Cemetery is an amazing view, and it's a beautiful afternoon with a cool breeze, so let's go and investigate. Just so nice to come up here. I've got great views and it's not too hot. Like, the weather has been quite changeable while I've been here, and I've actually been cool sometimes. But today is just perfect, quite breezy. So I'm really enjoying exploring, walking around Chinatown, walking around looking at old buildings. And now this is such a contrast. In the distance over there is Diamond Head, where I walked up the other day. The information provided at this memorial is just amazing. There's a lot of these large boards showing the plan of attack and what the USA actually did. And I couldn't help but notice this one, which is the top of Australia. Well, I thought the view from Diamond Head was pretty good. From up here at the memorial, it's like a whole different view. I think that some people who come here to Oahu think that all Hawaii has is high-rise buildings. But as I've travelled around the island, I've seen that's just not the case. There's lots of areas that have houses. The suburbs could be really any new suburb in Australia. So it's really worthwhile getting away from Waikiki and just going off exploring.
I hope you've enjoyed this video, and thanks for staying to the end. As you can see, I continued to enjoy Hawaii, stopping in at Pearl Harbour and learning so much, then exploring around nearer to Waikiki, the old buildings, Chinatown, and then lastly going up to Memorial. What a great place to stay, and there will be one more video. So thanks for watching, and bye for now.